fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So all the angels were fearing to tread into this, and I was the fool who rushed into it. A law minister had called me up and said, Srikrishna ji, आपको एक देश के लिए एक बड़ा काम करना है. Most of the recommendations made by me in most of the committees or commissions have not been accepted.
Our guest today is someone who has made innumerable contributions to the country as a jurist and renowned judge. And though he retired from the Supreme Court in 2006, our esteemed guest has been appointed to several committees by the UPA and Bjp governments to give his expert recommendations on a host of issues, including financial sector reforms and data protection policies. Very honored to have with us today legal luminary and former judge of the Supreme Court of India and scholar of Indian philosophy and culture, Mr. Justice B.N Srikrishna on Buzz by the Bay. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We really appreciate it. You know, your time is very valuable. And though you did retire as a judge of the Supreme Court in 2006, retirement has been no retirement. You've been on many committees and you've been, very renowned arbitrator as well.
Like they say in America, I'm between two jobs. I
Okay.
finished the last one some time ago, the Data Protection Committee.
Yes.
And after that, I'm really not doing any other serious work except some private work of consultations and opinions and things
Okay.
like that.
Well, you say not serious work, but it's serious work for many. So you mentioned the data protection. We can jump right into that because that is such a hot topic these days, digital private data protection, and that law has been enacted in 2023, the DPDP Act. And you were the chairman of the committee for, to make that data protection framework. And based on your recommendations, based on your committee's recommendations, the government then drafted the bill. So I did read some statements of yours in the paper where you have said that the DPDP bill, it grants many exemptions to the government and government bodies, from all sections of the law. And you say that that is a cause of concern, that the executive can infringe on the fundamental right to privacy.
Anushka, the Supreme Court gave us a momentous decision in that Puttaswamy case when Aadhaar was challenged. The Supreme Court said that right to privacy is a fundamental right.
Yes.
Now, if it is a fundamental right, normally a fundamental right cannot be breached by any other process except by parliamentary legislation, which is again enacted in accordance with the triple principles that the Supreme Court has laid down in that Aadhaar case.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, the government did not, maybe they didn't accept for their reasons, good or bad. We had suggested in the report as well as in the draft which was submitted in 2016 that there should be a separate law which would deal with how to curtail or breach the fundamental right of privacy. Because at that time we did not want to go into the nitty-gritties. Okay. Then finally they have come out with the 2022 Act.
Right.
Now if you notice the 2022 Act, virtually every section grants exemption to the government, any government or government body from all or any of the sections. This power is available to the executive.
Okay.
So if tomorrow the government says, hey, look, we don't want this act to apply to any of our departments, that would be a legitimate exercise on their part, subject of course to challenge, constitutional challenge, etc. Now dangerous from the point of view of the citizens. It's virtually giving a blank check to somebody.
Right, you have said that.
Yeah.
A blank check. But under what circumstances would it be permissible to access data without consent? As you said, there are overarching exemptions in this bill. And you have mentioned that there is a blank, it's like a blank check to any government. But in what circumstances is it okay?
You see, there may be circumstances which justify accessing. For example, if there is a legitimate reason to suspect that somebody is, let's say, a terrorist or financial, then there may be reason to look at his data, personal data. Now, there must be enough guardrails for the exercise of this. Now, before you say that somebody is a terrorist, you must have something on your hand to show that there is some evidence leading to this terrorist activity on his part. Now, unfortunately, this act blindly says, first of all, it has said government may be exempted straight away, which according to me is notionally wrong, jurisprudentially wrong, because we had started in the report by saying, as far as data privacy is concerned, you should have the government bodies and private bodies on the same platform.
Same platform.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Because what is true of the, for this goose should be true of the gander also, no?
Right.
So that has been one principle which has been blatantly violated.
Okay.
The other is, there should be an authority called a regulator called Data Protection Authority, who should be set up within 6 months of the act being notified. The necessity of data privacy, I'm talking of personal data privacy,
Right.
in every sector of every industry may not be identical. Now take for example, in the hospital industry, it is of topmost priority that you should keep the data very private.
Yes.
Now if I'm manufacturing lipstick or shoes, it's not a very serious issue.
Right.
Therefore, this has to be done on the basis of case to case or sector to sector. So then it will be done, number one. Number two, we had suggested that it's a very high responsible job. Therefore, the regulator must be an independent person. Conceptually, a regulator must have sufficient autonomy, albeit that finally regulator is also an extension of the executive. But in his day-to-day work, he should not be subjected to executive authority.
Okay.
Now, all that has been totally given a go-by. So in the present act as it stands, first of all, I was surprised when I was told that what has now been contemplated is a data protection board, which the minister openly said is not a regulator.
Oh, then what is it?
I don't know what it's supposed to be. Its composition is not indicated in the act. Its powers are not indicated in the act. What is he supposed to do? What is the authority supposed to do is not indicated. And everything will be settled on the basis of what the rules of the government are. So this is not only a blank check, but a blank piece of paper in which you can print the form of the check and write whatever figures that you want.
Okay. So you're saying that a lot of the recommendations made by your committee that you chaired were overlooked?
Absolutely. Not only overlooked, they were jettisoned.
They were jettisoned. All right. Okay, because I mean, this has been in the news a lot, and even in the US Senate, a senator recently, a few days ago, spoke up about how push notifications from certain apps can actually help governments across the world,
Correct.
gather data and track individuals, track even anonymous users. And these are matters of great concern.
Of course, yes. That is the reason why the Supreme Court heard the matter by the largest bench that I have known, 9 judges or something like that. And then unanimously gave an opinion that privacy of data is a fundamental right. Article 21 is the right to life, and right to life means right to dignified life.
Right.
And dignity in life is very much hand in hand with privacy.
Article 21, which is the cornerstone of the Constitution, right to life and personal liberty. And as you said, in 2017, in that case, right to privacy was declared as intrinsic to life and personal liberty.
That's good.
So that has to be, respected and held in the highest regard. And now again we have AI, artificial intelligence.
That's going to be another problem.
That is another problem. And now what has surfaced is the whole issue of deepfakes, right? And ministers, actually now the ministers have said that
they're going to regulate OTT. All platforms will be regulated now. And
all
the
platforms.
safe harbor rule will be completely done away with it.
The safe harbor will be?
Completely, the safe harbor rule for a platform was that, look, I'm running a platform, digital platform. Somebody may put some content on that. I should not be held responsible for the content. The person who put it, they must be held company. That was the argument. what happens in most of the posts is somebody puts a post on that and I simply like it or say I repeat it.
Yeah.
Now, who is the originator of that is not known. So they
Okay.
want a situation where the originator of that should be identified by some means, number one. And the safe harbor for the platform should be done away with. Because according to them, if I can't catch somebody else, I'll catch the platform. Voila.
Of course, the governments are saying, and which is possibly true, that deepfake can be a threat to democracy
it
and
can be,
stable
correct.
government.
Yes.
It can be. You can morph all sorts of images. You can fabricate manipulate all sorts of images and data and cause a lot of havoc. But at the same time, there has to be a balance, right?
Correct, there is no difficulty on that. But then the way you go about it is you are saying that whoever put the deep fake on that, I can't identify him, you can't identify him, therefore let's shut down the platform.
No, and that's an extreme step. So what is your solution to this?
You find out, you have got your method of intelligence, counter-intelligence. Find out, I'm sure technically it is possible to identify who is the one who has done this.
The originator.
Yeah.
Now, going back a couple of decades to
Yes.
the very famous Srikrishna Commission report on the Mumbai riots.
Oh my God. I had virtually forgotten it.
It was a one-man commission, a huge task, very
Yes.
difficult task. And you took it on as a duty to the nation. I'd like to say almost in the form of a karma yogi. Well, someone who has to do their duty.
Yeah.
So as the commission examined about 502 witnesses and gave its report in 1998. But as a citizen, how do you feel that, all the recommendations were not really implemented after so much painstaking effort, How did you feel about that?
Before answering your question, at that time, no other judge in the Bombay court was willing to put his neck into this. As the saying goes, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So all the angels were fearing to tread into this, and I was the fool who rushed into it. Maybe it's on account of my foolishness or on account of misplaced sense of duty to the country. But incidentally, this has nothing to do with that commission. The last commission that I did, the last report that I gave, data commission,
Yeah.
there also the law minister had called me up and said, Srikrishna ji, आपको एक देश के लिए एक बड़ा काम करना है. And that is how I got involved into it.
Right. देश के लिए बड़ा काम करना है. So you
and-
have done a lot of work
I
for
don't
the
know.
nation, for the desh, for the
Okay,
country.
number one. And then the second question that you asked was, a large number of recommendations made by the Riots Commission was not implemented. Between you and me, it has been my uniform experience that most of the recommendations made by me in most of the committees or commissions have not been accepted. Except the pay commission, because everybody got about 350 to 4%, 400% rise in pay.
Oh.
That was promptly accepted. There also, the pay commission, sixth pay commission, had recommended that we had identified about 5 or 6 ministries. I said, these are useless, they abolish them. That was not accepted. We had said, too many holidays, the government holidays are there, cut them down, that was not accepted. But when we said, increase the pay to about 350% or 400%, depending on their level,
Yes.
that was promptly implemented.
You've been on the Telangana and other committees.
There also our recommendation was first, we were asked to give as many optimal solutions as could be. We identified about 5 or 6 optimal solutions, starting with do it split.
Okay.
If you split ABC, if you split and do this ABC, like that 1 to 7, I think we have solutions we identified.
Yes.
So the last one is if you can't do all this, split. They pick the people.
Recently you made a statement, at least this is what I read online. At an event, you made a statement that a judge and a journalist have to necessarily be independent. And if they falter, then the whole democracy gets shaken up. How does one secure the complete independence of the judiciary?
Independence of the judiciary is a guaranteed thing under the Constitution. whether the judge is at the lowest level, the first class magistrate and the junior division civil judge, and right up to the Supreme Court. There's an interesting judgment by the Supreme Court saying that, because there was an argument made once that the IAS officer should be equated to the judges and all that. And the Supreme Court came down heavily on that and said, whereas the lowest rung of the judiciary exercises sovereign powers, the officers are not exercising sovereign powers. An IAS officer is not somebody who has been granted anything under the Constitution.
Okay.
Whereas the district judiciary itself is recognized. And there are, of course, High Court and Supreme Court is very well recognized and their powers have been delineated. That is one aspect of the matter. And another aspect of the matter is, as far as the High Court and Supreme Court are concerned, their term is guaranteed, in the sense nobody can touch him. Their pay, service conditions cannot be altered to their prejudice while they are in service. That is guaranteed. Number two, the government can't do to anything to a judge. And going down all the way down the rungs, even to the lowest rung in the judiciary, the government has no right to transfer him, the government has no right to sack him or anything like that. Now this is theory. Now, independence is something that has to be guarded by the individual. Now, if I don't consider myself independent, but I am obliged to the executive all the time, then there is no escape from this. Because independence is a state of mind.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, if you don't have that state of mind, writing it in the Constitution is of no use.
Absolutely. So how do you think the state of mind right now is in the judiciary?
Well, it's like the famous Vicar's egg, partly good and partly bad.
Okay.
The independent people are independent. The not so independent people are not so independent.
Another Supreme Court judgment, which it had said in 2023, this topic of hate speeches on all sides, not just one, not taking one particular religion, all religions, we find hate speeches happening very often from all parties right now. And the Supreme Court said in 2023 that hate speeches against any religion need to be treated alike and dealt with as per law, independent of the offender's faith. I feel as a country we have to find unity in diversity. Do you feel hate speeches are being punished adequately?
No. I remember there is a provision in the penal code, I think it is section 153A, 153B, something like that, where anybody who promotes hatred on the basis of religion, etc., can be prosecuted. While examining the riot situation in the first commission that I headed, I had noticed that several proposals made for prosecuting people who had left and right done what the Supreme Court calls hate speech. But the government, unfortunately, the provision of the law is that it has been sanctioned by the government. The government was sitting on it, not sanctioning it, because the government was not interested in their being prosecuted. Therefore, it should be independent of the sanction of the government.
But do you think freedom of speech is intact?
Theoretically, yes. In the sense, you have a constitutional guarantee under Article 19(1), right from the Indian Express case down till today. But betwixt the cup and the lip, there is many a fall. Expressing one's opinion about what the executive does is certainly not an offense under any provision of the criminal law in this country. In fact, the Supreme Court has time and again pointed out that infamous Article 120B, criminal conspiracy against the state, he said that can never be invoked unless there is some positive act done by the offender which results in or provocates people to violence. So if I am taking a view that is extreme, counsel me, argue with me. Otherwise, democracy, the essence of democracy is dissension. If there is no dissension, how can there be democracy?
Coming to again legal reforms, justice is slow in India, right?
Yes,
and there are huge arrears in the courts, right? Tons of pending cases, and the cliche is that justice delayed is justice denied. Now, how do we deal with this situation?
situation is far too complex for a single simple solution. First of all, do you know that at all levels there is always a 25% to even sometimes as high as 40% vacancy? Now, if the work is to be done by 10 persons and you have only 6% doing the work, do you expect them to be able to catch up with the work? Number one question. Then the question is about infrastructure. It's all right in the High Court in Bombay or in the major cities, things are good. But if you go down to the interiors, the Mafusal case, cities, Mafusal towns, Mafusal, even the villages, is there anything that you expect that can be done there or not? Now, I have seen activists like you complaining that there are no place for the litigants to sit, there are no toilets for the women. It's atrocious situation. But despite all that, I must congratulate the judges that they are doing bravely in the face of so many difficulties. They are doing their work. One more reason is there has been explosion of litigation along with explosion of population also. And finally, judicial acumen is something that you must look for. Now, you can't simply say that there are 3 vacancies, there is you like appoint 3 persons, irrespective of whether they are capable, competent, and they are able to handle the issue. Now, it's a compound of all these factors that is resulted in the day. Now, one solution found out was to have this tribunalization of justice. But now every lawyer worth his salt is complaining about saying that there is no justice at all rendered by the tribunals.
Oh, but what about like mediation and arbitration?
No, that's correct. These are the alternatives. ADR is one solution that has been suggested. But unfortunately in this country, see, there is a reason why ADR has picked up in foreign countries, particularly the Western countries. The costs of litigation are so terrifying that they would gladly settle the matter.
Yeah.
Here that doesn't happen. It's a question of mindset. People still are not sure that they will be able to get the equivalent of justice if I go to a mediation rather than going to a court or an arbitration.
So moving on to something else other than the judicial system, you are a scholar of Indian philosophy,
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sanskrit, even Urdu,
What
a diploma in Urdu as well.
Yeah.
Which are the principles of Vedanta that appeal to you the most? That you think are important to bring about harmony in this country?
Okay. There is one nice pithy saying in Sanskrit. He says, Atmana pratikulani paresham na samacharet. Fundamental principle. Whatever is bad for you, don't do it to others. If you follow this, most of the problems in society are solved. No?
Oh, that's so true.
Theft is bad for me,
Yeah.
but as far as you are concerned, I can pick your pocket. If somebody robs me, I would be offended. But I can rob you.
And that's such a basic principle of living, right?
Absolutely. This is exactly what our scriptures teach us. But then Bhagavad Gita is used in the courts. Have you seen the state of Bhagavad Gita in the courts?
No.
It's a tatter. I don't know whether they're inside, any pages inside. The 2 covers are bound by rubber band or something. And then the witness is asked to put his hand on that Gita par haath rakhe. Khasam khata hu, khasam.
Swear on the Gita.
Now, neither the judge, nor the witness, nor the lawyers would have ever seen what is there inside. If they had read it, probably things would have been much better.
Yeah, maybe. What other principles from the Gita do you think that really as a country we should, or as individuals in this country?
Okay. Gita tells us what? Gita tells us karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That everybody knows, everybody mouths, all politicians talk about it.
Karma yoga.
What is that? Don't expect anything out of it, do it. Now the question you asked me a little earlier, that 7 committees and commissions you headed, not one of them fructified. What happened? I say it didn't matter a bit to me. Because I was not after the consequences. I was after my duty. My duty is
It's a karma yoga, right?
Correct.
247.
Absolutely, that's what he told us. And
You have a right to action, but you don't have a right to the fruits of
Correct.
action. And you are a big appreciator of Indian art and
yes,
culture and music as well.
I studied music. I used to play violin when I was young,
Oh, wow.
long ago.
Just a little bit about your personal journey. Did you always know you wanted to do law?
No. That's I'm an accidental lawyer.
Accidental lawyer?
Yes.
What could have been an alternate profession?
Okay, now that you ask me, I must tell you the truth and the honest truth.
Yes.
So help me God. When I just entered college, atomic energy was a big thing.
Oh.
Pandit Nehru was giving a lot of emphasis on development of atomic energy. The Atomic Energy Commission was established, the Bhabha Research Commission, Bhabha, what is it called? BARC had just been established. It was not called BARC in the days.
Yeah.
Bhabha was a great hero in our eyes as young students of science. Vikram Sarabhai.
Yes.
So, like all the kids of my age, my group, I also wanted to be a scientist.
Scientist.
So I decided that I am not going to take the advice of my father and go into the science stream. Then I appeared for BSc, got through without any difficulty, applied for MSc, and I wanted to do either quantum physics or nuclear physics. There was a gap between the date on which the application was made and the date on which the money had to be paid, the first term fees or something. In that gap, that is during the vacation period. During that period, there was something said by my father and said, you can't be a good lawyer unless you have some super brain or something like that. Unfortunately, I have a bad rebellious habit that whatever you say something, I try to challenge you.
Right.
So I told him, what are you saying? If you can be a good lawyer, I can be a better lawyer. He said, is that so? Next morning I applied to law college. I always say this. I always say that the loss of the legal profession was the gain of the scientific world.
Being loss of the legal, no. It's the other way. The gain of the legal profession was the loss of the science field. You're being too modest.
That's a matter of perspective.
Lastly, may I have mantras for success from you?
Mantras for success?
Yes.
Oh my God. There's nothing else that I can tell you except be honest and take up your job with sufficient seriousness and treat it like I would treat it like my puja, which I do with great sincerity. Every day without fail, all my life I have done it. Yes. Whether you are in the legal profession or whether you are in service or it, you be a karma yogi. That's the same thing that Bhagavad Gita told us. I am telling you, I will also say the same thing. I have nothing to add to it. Do it honestly to the best of your ability. And at all given points of time, improve and hone your professional skills. Whether you are a lawyer, doctor, teacher, policeman, whatever you are.
Okay, improve and hone your professional skills.
Don't forget that you are doing your bit to help the country, to help your fellow human beings, and help the society, help the humanity in general.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and that was really a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a very enlightening discussion with Mr. Justice B.N Srikrishna, a very, very renowned jurist and judge, and so much to be inspired by and so much to learn from speaking to him. And we need such independent people and people with such integrity in our judicial system to ensure the strength of our democracy. Keep watching Buzz by the Bay for more such inspiring content.
Thank you, Buzz by the Bay.
Thank you.